So a bit of a rainy day here at the marina. So I'm using this, not gonna go sailing today, I'm gonna use this time to get a couple projects done. One of which is adding fans, 12-volt fans, to my electrical system, boat electrical system. And the second is figuring out what's wrong with this manual bilge pump, which has been a problem for a while. Basically, if you pump it, nothing happens. And I have a pretty good theory as to why. So the cabin is wired with pretty heavy gauge wire, 12 volts, all the way to the front. Right now it's powering these sort of goose head LED lights. They're pretty old, pretty dated. They also aren't very bright. So I'm thinking to replace these with actually fans. And I still have lighting issues in the cabin as well. Like these aren't very bright, for example, so I might replace these too. But for now, especially in the summer months, I'm gonna see if I can, mount a fan on the existing system. And then separately, see they go all the way to the front here. So these two square sort of puck things have pretty heavy gauge wire in them. So let's get started with one of these fans. Pretty sturdy fan there. Love magnetic screwdriver. I'm gonna keep this little connector thing. This is pretty handy. Whoever originally did the wiring on this boat, I think it had a big refit in 2012 or 2014, but they did an excellent job. Everything is, 14 gauge wire. And everything is tinned, everything is just excellent work. So let's first get this in here just for a test. Let's give it a little test. Power on. Oh yeah. That makes quite a bit of air actually. I was a little bit worried about that since it is a smaller, it's the smallest fan that they sell. This is a Caframo. Okay, so I think I'm gonna mount it. Let's see if I can fit it like up into here, like this. I think that's pretty nifty. So it's kind of recessed, but it'll still spin. Let's try that. Reuse the old screws, easy. Yeah, let's do it this way. So I can kind of point in, tucked in there. Perfect. That was absolutely perfect. All right, last piece is hooking it up here, back to power. So I'm gonna do these one at a time. Always zip tie. This isn't perfect, but I should probably trim this cable, but I think it'll be fine for now. I'll stick it up there. All right, here's the final test. Cabin lights on. Beautiful. That's awesome. Slower speed, faster speed, that'll help a lot in the summer here. Project 1 over. We're gonna do the same thing on this side. It's in the same circuit. Love the second time you do something is always so much faster. Come on, buddy, stay up there. Test. Look at that, high speed, ow. High speed, ow. Low speed. So much airflow. And then, boom, they're off. It's raining a little bit. So it is a new day. It ended up raining the rest of the day when I was here last time, so I still got the bilge project on my list for today. And actually, it's pretty interesting that it rained because, so I keep finding water in the bilge, and I'm now very certain that it's coming from outside of the boat. and it only happens when I'm under sail. So what's happening is water is coming in through the bilge port holes on the port side of the hull when we're heeled over more dramatically. It's kind of like siphoning down from that port into the bottom of the bilge, like the exact opposite of what we want to happen. So yeah, I'm gonna repair that manual bilge and probably redo the hosing there a little bit, just because I think it's pretty simple. I think it's just an angle issue where if I had a more, I'll show you when we get in there what I'm talking about. But yeah, at least the water is most definitely not coming from the top deck, which is always good. Secondly, I've got these Wave 1 Marine dome lights. So, I did the the fan work last week. Let me turn those back on. They still work as intended. But I do want to do some work on these dome lights. I really like the red. That works pretty well. The white isn't. Unfortunately, these are massive. Like, I'm not sure. It's much larger than the existing light there. And I don't really know where else to put them. So that's a little TBD. Maybe like over here. I'm not sure how I mean, that works. Alright, so before I get too crazy installing these lights, I'm just going to test them to make sure that everything checks out. I don't love that. It's okay. I don't like how I can see the LEDs. It's like a very clear lens. It's also really cool. I want a little warmer light, so I actually might take these back. It's a little disappointing. Sorry, Wave 1. Let's take a look at this bilge pump situation. Just clear these out. You can see the bilge pump housing right there. Oh yeah, that's definitely, see that crack? That's probably why there's no compression in the pump, if I had to guess. And these are the hoses I was talking about. So try to imagine if the boat is heeled this way, water gets in there, comes down the tube, it's probably this one right here is the offender. That's my guess. So I'm gonna probably zip tie this up a little bit, just to give it a sharper angle at the top. But yeah, that's done improperly. It's a little bit too tight to make any sense, but I'm pretty sure it's that one. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is just pull this thing out, this whole housing out, because yeah, if that plastic is broken, by the way, I tested this already and pumped it manually, and there's no compression, or like there's no suction when you use the manual pump there, so this whole thing is not providing a vacuum to suck water up. So that's definitely an issue. Now we're removing the bilge pump. All right, pulled it out. There it is. Pretty heavy thing. These are probably pretty expensive, actually. What do we got? Gusher Titan. Or they have one of these at West Marine. I would love to use the original holes here and not have to do anything else. So they don't have another one of these at West Marine, so I got to order it online. So unfortunately, I can't finish this project today, but it's kind of what I suspected. You can see, because this housing is broken, the vacuum is broken in the total system. So it pumps, and it actually blows out air from the outside, but it doesn't intake water from the inside. So there's probably just a break here. I thought about maybe compressing the housing here with like a compression strap or something to try and restore the seal and therefore the vacuum, but it's pretty old anyway, and it's a pretty important piece of gear. I really want the backup manual bilge pump to be in fine working order. So yeah, ordered a new one. Can't finish this project today. We'll revisit that in a couple weeks. So while the pump is missing and I'm waiting for the replacement to come, I need to secure this pose, because you can see that is actually, attached to the hull. You can actually see the water reflecting through that a little bit if you look real close. So yeah, it's important that we secure this while I'm waiting. What I'm gonna do, so I just hose clamped this like rope on it, and I'm just gonna stick it up here just to point it up and out of the way. Obviously that's not the safest thing in the world, but I think it's fine. I'm not gonna do a bunch of heavy sailing before I get this replacement water pump. And also, just so you all, in case you're all worried, I do have a second manual bilge pump, which is down below, that I can use to pump the bilge out. That's plenty secure, honestly. That'll work. Good. Now I gotta do the same to this tube because I think this is the one that's filling the bilge with water. Okay, trying a similar thing on this hose. So basically clamped this line onto it. I'm just gonna tie it up and out of the way here, just to pull this hose up just enough to make that angle negative. I mean, I probably need to change this entire hose out, but I just don't feel like messing around with that right now. And it's not a ton of water that gets into the bilge, and it takes hours. I think that's probably enough of an angle change here. So yeah, we'll see how that works. I might take this for a little sail later today. Although this only really happens in rough seas. The other thing I was gonna do is fill these tanks. There's tanks under here. Fill them with water. They have some water in them already, but I like to keep them completely full. Not because I drink the water, I actually just use it very sparingly to wash dishes and stuff. There's a little pump that controls it right here. Comes out. But the main benefit is that it just provides extra ballast into the bottom of the boat and makes the boat sail a lot better. So I love having them full. Still kind of smells like antifreeze in there. As a side note, this is why I did not want to take that redo this tubing down to the bilge pump. That's the smaller one right here. Just because it's really secure in there and everything's pretty solid about it. I don't want to mess with it too much, but I don't really think it's a risk. Taking this opportunity to tighten up some of this. Some of these little hoses and stuff. They're actually in pretty good shape. It's just a peace of mind thing. Yeah, maybe they're a little bit loose across the board, but just keep them nice and confidently tight there. This whole housing is leaking, which I don't really want to replace. It's leaking very slightly, but they're pretty expensive, so I don't feel like doing it yet. I also pulled out the dinghy and gave it a nice scrub. Looking pretty good. I didn't realize the bottom is covered in ablative paint. So my attempt to scrub this off actually rubbed a bunch of paint off, so I need to redo this bottom now. I think it's the same ablative paint as the bottom of the boat, black, probably Pettit Hydrocoat. So that's my favorite paint. Anyway, the other thing I'm working on is this little cap that goes on top of the dinghy. I'm gonna sand this down, kind of wire off some of this old varnish on there. And I'm gonna revarnish it and give it some time to dry, because I have some extra varnish from the Steps project, which are still looking shiny and great. It's looking really solid and usable. Needs to dry out though. I can definitely tell it's got a little bit of water in it, a little waterlogged. The other thing I want to do is put this halyard through that pulley so I can route it back to this winch and actually raise the mainsail from the cockpit versus having to walk up here. Should be nice. So I decided what I'm gonna do instead with the lights is put a little fixture right here that kind of can angle. So I think this could be a cool little reading corner or something. I've got the little books right here already, so it kind of is the reading corner right now. But then put a corresponding one on this side. So basically we've got, and they would just accept like one of those LED type column looking bulbs and fit in there, but that would be pretty easy to do, and I think would actually look pretty cool, especially if I got like a bronze one to match the port lights. Looks like we're gonna have some decent wind out here. Like 10 knots, 10, 15. There's only like 8 in the forecast, so that's good. Tighten up this jib a little bit. This dude is just flying directly into a shoal over there. Hope he knows where he's going. It is pretty high tide, so maybe he knows what he's doing, or he's been into that shoal before. Yeah, I don't know. Preparing to do a little tack here. We're on a jolly little downwind course on the way back. It's a good little sail today. Beautiful day. Wish the sun would peek out a little bit more. We are back at the dock. I'm trying to see if we got any water in the bilge here. It's a tiny bit, but I think I fixed it. I mean, I'm not sure if it was rough enough to really test out there, but that's a good sign. A little bit of play develops in the tiller. Pretty much every season I have to tighten up these bolts, so that's what I'm gonna do right now. First guess. Beautiful. Nice. I also need to fix this swim ladder. It rattles when we're under motor, which is really annoying. And these, you need to replace these little feet, these rubberized feet. So I'm gonna measure those, see if I can get something at the hardware store. All right, we got some new kind of rubber stoppers on there, which look pretty solid. Now I'm just gonna figure out a way to secure this quickly so I can take it up and down real quick. I'm thinking I'll make a loop and then put it into this sort of a thing. I don't know what to call that. Grabber, lasher. All right, I got this little, see, I just kind of made this loop here, hook it around this, and then it goes pop into there. Holds the ladder up, doesn't touch the hull, because when it touches the hull, it rattles because of the motor, like I mentioned before. All right, this thing is dry and ready to varnish. Wow, it's soaking up so much varnish. Way more than the steps inside. That's pretty good. I'm just gonna do, well, this sticks to plastic probably. I might as well do the bottom though. She looks good. Until next time, really gotta do that top deck or the non-skid. Once you get that non-skid, it's gonna look pretty good. And a little teak update and we'll be ready for the season.